Chelsea, I've been feeling really bummed out about the photography world lately. Like everything has changed. You know what the straw that broke the camel's back for me?
What?
Was Photo Plus was rebranded. You know, Photo Plus was the big convention that we always went to in New York City, and they would showcase all the new cool gear, all the new lenses, all the new cameras. Now they've turned it into this creators workshop for influencers.
That sounds awesome.
Not only that, but the photography community that I've been actively a part of for more than 25 years now is just drastically changed and almost disappeared. You know, everybody now, instead of using conventional cameras, they're using smartphones. Camera sales are down like 93%. All the things that I learned were important, like how to make really big prints, how to master the exposure triangle. All of that seems insignificant now because everything's automatic and everything's viewed on a smartphone.
First of all, I feel for you, and I've heard your same concerns from a lot of people, but I see this as not a goodbye, but an opportunity for evolution and an opportunity for growth. And where you're expressing a lot of heartbreak and loss, I see so many good things. I want to let you share your perspective, but I definitely have information that I think is going to make you feel a lot better. And you too, if you're feeling like the industry is moving on without you, I have great news that it's gotten easier and better, and it's something to be happy about.
Let's talk about it, but first let's thank our sponsor,
Yeah,
Squarespace.
Speaking of easier and better, you can share all of your photos or your business in an easier, better way by having a Squarespace. It is truly easy. You drag and drop, and you can have one finished in 10 minutes. It looks professional. It has beautiful streamlined templates. And if you don't believe me, you can try it for 14 days, no credit card needed. Drop your pictures in there. You're going to fall in love with it. And when you do, you'll want the 10% off coupon, and you can get that with the coupon code Chelsea. So go to squarespace.com/Chelsea, use the coupon code Chelsea, that's CHELSEA, to get 10% off. Thank you, Squarespace. Tony, let's hear about your sadness so I can cheer you up a little.
Okay, well first I want to talk about like everything that's changed, because the industry has changed so much. Nowadays, almost everybody is using a smartphone. Like people are still taking pictures, but they don't think about it. They don't know how exposure works or what ISO is. They just pick up their smartphone and they snap it, and then nobody ever sees the picture. Or if they do, they put it on social media and they just like scroll past it. It just seems like no thought goes into pictures anymore. And in fact, still pictures seem like they're practically a dead format. Like even Instagram, which is the new media, is now more than half video. And something that's really upsetting to me is production value actually works against you nowadays. People see professional production values and they think it's like corporate and insincere. You know, we have an 18-year-old daughter, and she doesn't like to have pictures taken in our portrait studio. She thinks that's like cringy, like try hard. And we see it in our own video productions too. Like people actually like to see jump cuts, all the things like traditional videographers and filmmakers learned. That's actually a negative. People prefer casual styles. Even in a professional photo, they want to make it seem like it's not actually a professional photo, but it's candid.
Production values have not gone down. The appearance of production values have gone down. And if you don't believe that, go to any popular TikTok and see that these young people are doing incredible, like really creative transitions. I've seen our own daughter put an hour into a TikTok video with cool transitions and different effects. They're learning to appreciate production value because they're doing it every day, just socially, not even for money, not even as a job. So where we used to stand in our studio, we have another studio I'm pointing at, Tony does breaking news there. That was considered high production values for us to mimic TV. And now high production values are creating your own cool transitions and stuff. So it looks casual, but it's the appearance of being casual most of the time.
What's tough about it for me is that I put a lot of time and energy into figuring out all these things.
Yeah.
And now they're uncool. Now, me using these techniques that I spent years developing makes me look old.
Yeah, but the thing is, your skills are not obsolete. You need a software update, Tony. Everything there that you've learned is still there and it's still relevant. You just need to learn how to tweak them a little bit to apply them in the same way. And if you're feeling insecure, like things have changed, I've heard other photographers say, oh, no, these people didn't shoot film. They don't know what it's like to just have one shot or this, that, and the other. Like, your concerns are valid. I understand why you're feeling that way. I understand why you're feeling frustrated that you had a rougher barrier to entry. You have to learn something new, basically. And you're not erasing the old stuff, you're adding to it. So we know so much about studio lighting, we know a lot about editing. We need to just learn some newer transitions, some newer editing techniques that make the things we already know look more modern. There was no like fashion designer that was like, I was so cool in the 80s, nobody wants to see fashion from the 80s anymore. No, they evolved.
I guess you're right that you never really finish learning.
You don't finish learning.
I'll say one of the things I struggle with most is just switching to a vertical format, which is how people consume media now. Because not only do they capture it with their phone, but they consume it here. And I spent so many years learning this 16:9 wide-angle format for video, especially that is how I think. And it's so hard for me to switch to this completely vertical thing and relearn composition and storytelling.
You love learning.
You're right. Maybe I need to look at it as an opportunity.
And that's one of my favorite things about photography is that you never stop learning.
Let's go back to Photo Plus and what I miss about these big photo conferences where all the new gear is launched. Because I miss all the cool new gadgets. I miss when Canon would launch some new camera and it would truly blow your mind. Like when the 5D Mark II was released, I was one of the first people to get it. And it was such an evolution from the 5D Mark I that now I could take handheld night photos. It opened up this opportunity that was not possible before. You no longer had to put it on a tripod and shoot for 10 seconds. You could grab candid shots in a city in low light. And that was amazing. And for years, like image quality would just like double every couple of years. It would just be so much better. And that's not happening anymore. Like we've tested all the new cameras, the A1, the Canon R3, and the image quality is not any better than our Nikon D850 from like 5-6 years ago.
Who needs more image quality at this point? Other things are evolving in technology. You have eye detect autofocus where you don't even have to refine your autofocusing points when you're taking portraits anymore. Your camera does it for you. You have a camera you literally put into the sky.
Drones are amazing.
Yeah, you love your drone. You have 30 frames per second where you can catch action and wildlife photography that you couldn't even perceive with your own eyes.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I have to change my mind from just thinking about like the old DxO mark metrics that used to be so compelling to thinking about like workflow.
And your skills didn't go away. You still had to find the spot. You still had to find the composition, the light, the subject. It just made the workflow easier.
Yeah, I guess you're right. A lot of the things I used to struggle with that weren't image quality, DxO mark stuff, have gotten a lot easier.
I know that you're upset about some other things and you're concerned with the future of photography, but it has gotten easier. It's more accessible, and I think that's a good thing. And speaking of things that are easier and more accessible, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. If you're looking to show off your photos, not just in chronological order on social media where you don't control the image resolution or anything like that. If you want your photos to look amazing on an amazing website, try out Squarespace. You get a 14-day free trial. You don't have to remember to cancel it, but you're going to want to buy it, and then you can get 10% off. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. That's CHELSEA, like the soccer club. All right, let's hear more of your gripes. You're getting bummed out. I'm gonna pull you right up.
Do you remember the show Airwolf?
No.
Okay, you might not be quite old enough for this. Airwolf was this military helicopter. It was like the most powerful aircraft on the planet.
Okay.
And whatever the problem was in the world, the solution was a super fast helicopter that could shoot big missiles. But here's the catch. There was only one person who could fly it. It was played by Jan Michael Vincent. And that made him so valuable. He became everybody's hero because he was the only one who'd mastered this super complex aircraft. I have always sort of related to that because I grew up with my dad as an engineer. And I grew up receiving a lot of praise for really mastering these incredibly technical things. Like I learned C programming when I was 10, and that amazed everybody around me when I could make cool little games and stuff on my computer. I built a whole career in IT and wrote all these books, and it was all because I mastered these super technical things. Like I always felt special for what I knew, for overcoming these technical challenges, but photographers nowadays do not have to have any technical challenges. They don't know Sunny F16 or the exposure triangle.
Why should they have to know that? That was keeping a lot of people from being in photography. It's not just about keeping someone from a hobby, Tony. Like, photography is a voice, and it's a powerful voice. And so you might not have to be a tech nerd to start photography, but that means that we're seeing the lives, the stories, the news of people around the world because photography is easier and more accessible. That doesn't mean everyone's going to be a good photographer. You still had to learn the skills. I mean, like, you learned how to use a camera, but then you still had to figure out how to actually make a picture that looked good. And then you had to learn the art of photography, which is composition, lighting, color theory, posing, all of the things that actually make a photo good once you figured out how to expose it and make it sharp or whatever. Now, more people get to jump into the art of photography, the storytelling, without the barrier to entry.
You're right. I don't objectively want photography to be hard.
Yeah.
But I still have this feeling where my skill set and my particular makeup as a technical person is not as valuable as it used to be. And you're right, it's better. It's better that everybody now can take pictures. You know, we see images coming out of Ukraine from people who don't know the sunny f/16 rule.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad they can do that.
People can take less technical photos that look better than ever before.
Yeah, and I guess when I think about the photography skills that I've developed over 25 years of doing this, like, they're initially in the first couple of years, you're thinking about exposure and the camera settings and all the buttons and stuff. Then after that, I spent my time figuring out, like, where on the horizon the moon was going to rise so I could line things up. And I figured out how to pose and light a person so that you could see how beautiful they were in a picture.
Yeah.
And, you know, storytelling, composition, lighting, all these other aspects of photography that I wouldn't consider to be technical or nerdy.
Yeah.
That I think are still valuable. Because I see people, you know, using their smartphone or using a camera on full auto, and they don't have to worry about those small things anymore because now everything's easy, but they still need to learn that higher art thing. And along the way, I did learn those higher skills. I still feel like I take better smartphone pictures than other people take with their smartphones.
Yeah. And it's still pretty technical. Like, our neighbor came and needed her flash fixed, and you helped her with that. So it's still...
It hasn't gone away completely.
It hasn't gone away. The high-end stuff is still extremely technical. You're going to be okay.
Okay. I speak for a lot of people when I say that it's much harder to make money as a professional photographer now. I saw a study recently that showed a lot of professional photographers are making less than a living wage. You know, there's no longer any Sears portraits or J.C. Penney portraits, and it used to be an annual tradition. The whole family would get together and you get your professional portrait taken. They don't do that anymore. Now everybody just puts their camera up on a tripod and takes a picture, if they do that. People who study to be portrait photographers are largely out of work because people feel like, oh, their smartphone is good enough.
You also used to make money through stock photography, which is getting harder.
Yeah, our stock business that we built up pretty much went away because there were just so many people suddenly came into it, right? And my wildlife photography business went away because everybody was taking wildlife pictures.
I don't want to embarrass you by pointing out the obvious, but you are currently making more money right now doing photography than you ever had. And it's because we're talking about photography. That so many people are interested in photography.
Yeah, people still want to learn photography.
And people think that the education part of photography is not valid. I've heard that saying. People have said to me, like, oh, people who can't do teach. And that's absolutely not true. People who want to do teach.
Also really insulting to teachers.
I mean,
right?
like, also, why would you talk down on teachers? Yeah, that's really bizarre. How disrespectful. But we get to take whatever photo we want, whenever we want, as long as we teach other people how to do it. And that's how we make money. And I saw in that same study where people are making less money, a lot of them are supplementing with education, but there's other ways to expand as a photographer. Like you were saying, video is now more popular. It's not a huge jump to go from photography to video, especially because most cameras now are also video cameras. I remember when Madeline was born, we had someone come to the house, he set up a backdrop, he took a picture, and then he delivered physical pictures. So many photographers now think their job is to just take a picture and send digital files. How is that different than someone using their smartphone? If you want to stand out, deliver books, deliver physical products, deliver prints, do social media packages, do video, do drone footage, do real estate. So I know several people starting photography now who are finding massive success. Someone we know just stopped their primary job to do photography full-time, but they also do video and drone footage, real estate, restaurants, personal branding, videos for businesses, and they're doing great. We have a series called Taking Portraits for Professional Photographers, and one of the guys in the group just started being a pro, and he just got a contract taking like 600 portraits for a dance studio, and it's going to be a yearly gig. So if you're out there and you're being creative, there's work for you. You just have to think about what people need now. And a lot of that is going to be working for businesses, which, good news, they usually pay more and they're easier to work for. Also, putting your skills to where the final result is going to be, and that's often going to be social media. So if you're taking pictures and they're ending up on social media, learn social media. Offer to make the posts for people. Offer to show the business how to use social media for a fee. You have to learn how to deliver the final product.
Yeah, and I guess one thing I've always liked about the industry is it is always fast changing.
Yeah.
And I just need to get behind it and realize that I can't let my skills stagnate, you know? My dad had the same job for like 40 years with very little change, but that's not the case for me. I have to be constantly reinventing myself.
But your skills aren't stagnant. So here's an example. We got that job photographing the park that we did.
Yeah.
And they told us that they wanted stills. That's not what they wanted. They wanted drone footage. You know how to do that. You have your drone license, so we took drone footage. They wanted the stills to actually be a video for YouTube. Okay, we knew how to do that. We edited the stills into a video with the drone footage. They needed voiceover. Okay, we know how to do that. We did the voiceover for the video. Then they wanted actual social media management, which is like, I know how to do it, but my job is actually this, and I didn't have the time to do everything they wanted.
Yeah.
But if we had been people that were just looking for gigs and like struggling photographers, we would have had a huge gig as video, photography, drone, voiceover, social media management.
The working professional photographer has to reinvent themselves and broaden their idea of what it is to be a professional photographer. Now, you're right, it's largely social media management, because every restaurant, every business out there needs pretty much a constant stream of stills and video that tell a story that supports their brand. It is not just operating the camera anymore, but it's this much bigger, more complex and challenging thing. And it doesn't just require technical skills, but it requires like people skills and marketing skills.
So that the photographer has always done that. It's just that the final resting place of photos have changed. So photographers 30 years ago had to figure out prints. Maybe they even bought their own printers, framing, hanging it for clients possibly, wardrobe, posing, lighting, backdrops, new trends. Remember, glamour shots were popular in the 80s where they like had all the hairspray and the feather boas. And so it's always been a moving target. And now the target is that people are online, and it's going to be digital, and it's going to be video.
Thank you. It makes me feel better. I think I still need a little bit to sort of like shake the emotions, but you're right. I can adapt. And I think everybody out there can adapt to the new world. You just have to let go of the idea that the old way was the right way and the new way is the wrong way.
Yeah.
There are clear benefits to the changes that are happening.
So this is something that I told myself early in our career, because we were the new people upsetting the old people. We were the YouTube people who were new and stupid, and we were upsetting a whole old culture that had been there. And I remember viewing that resentment and thinking, of this moment, I will be the older generation. And how will I handle this? Will I feel resentment, or will I realize that it's always changing and that I need to appreciate the change and try to keep up with it?
In the comments, I'd like to hear what you're feeling about how the industry has changed over your time in the industry, because I wanted to address this because I was feeling like this sense of sadness. But also, when I made my smartphones are real cameras video, I detected so much continuing sort of anger at this idea that photographers could take good pictures with a smartphone. Like, people resent that. And I really think part of it is just that it's not highly technical anymore, and a lot of technical people are feeling their skills devalued. And I think you did a good job of giving all us nerds some hope for keeping our valuable skills just by sort of redefining what they are.
Yeah, you have to just shift them a little bit.
Whether you're technical or non-technical, you need a proper web presence, and squarespace.com/Chelsea makes it extremely easy to set up a professional website without having to know about CSS or HTML. You can create a beautiful website by dragging and dropping. And then if you are a nerd who knows about CSS and HTML, then you can go in and customize those things. That is all possible. But they also have professional designers who do it for you.
No, because even if you're technical, you're not a designer. I've seen people gild the lily, so to speak.
You're talking about me, aren't you? Anyway, try it out for free at squarespace.com/Chelsea. Once you love it, after your free trial, use the coupon code Chelsea and you'll get 10% off. Thanks for sponsoring us, Squarespace.
Thank you for watching our Picture This podcast. If you'd like to see more, you can see it on the podcast app on your phone, or you can go to our playlist on our YouTube, and we have all of our podcasts there. Thanks so much.
Bye.